causing separation amongst the people. Now you have the 5 castes, really 4 castes. The 5th caste, being the Dalit caste, is known as the untouchables. They hate these people so much. They call them the untouchables. These people are denied everything. The women are raped. They are denied, clean water, health care. They are denied, even access to the police station when something happens to them. They are the lowest of the low. Like, they only would give them jobs like cleaning shit or stuff like that. The Dalits are treated like worse than you can imagine over there. And this is something that's still taking place to this day, as you can see the pictures I've been putting up. It's still going on. So just like the other castes, you look at the Dalits and you see different colors of people. So you have very light-skinned Dalits and you have very dark-skinned. Any tribe, all ancient Indian tribes are considered Dalit caste people. Think about that. The ancients, the original people, are considered Dalits. They are treated like crap. They are treated unfairly, and they are the lowest of the low according to this whole caste system. So it's not the Sudras. The Sudras still get to serve the other people. They get to have interaction with those other people and serve them. The Dalits can't even touch none of these people. They're not supposed to be dealing with them at all. And they are, treated like crap, and they are treated like, the scum of the earth based upon their caste, the Dalit caste, because they are the original people. So understand, this is still taking place to this day. So think about that. Think about what these people are going through. And they protest and they've been trying to, get equal rights and everything like that. This is stuff that is going on to this day that we have not seen on TV. They're not talking about this stuff. And think about that. We put our noses in every single human rights thing. Iraq, Syria, everything. Whenever it's a problem, when it's a human rights issue, America's supposed to intervene, take over, or whatever like that, and do something to help the people. Why has this not been done in India? So when you look at what these people are going through, it's millions of people that are considered, Dalits. And we have, 300 million people here in America, but it's over 300 million people living in poverty in India. It's 1.3 billion people in India. So we're talking about more than 1/4 of the country is in poverty. Nothing is being done because of this caste system. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, how come I never heard about it before? How come it's not on the news? How could something like this be going on for so long? And the thing is, when I talked about it, how they was coming in Nixon, and then during the war, you had, white people leave, the war end. But when it was all said and done, you had the Aryans have people in positions of power. And that's basically what took place. You had a small uprising, so they fell back. And they had other places to basically conquer, but the system basically dwindled. It basically went away for a while. It didn't come back. The whole caste system didn't come back until the 1800s, when you had Queen Victoria basically was named Empress of India. Think about that. A British woman, Empress of India. You see how they do, these Europeans. It's crazy. It's crazy. But, the rulership of India by Europeans goes back far. You go back to the 1400s with the Portuguese. All the way back there. So you had the Portuguese, you had the Dutch, you had the Danish, you had the British, all at some point in time in power of the people of India. Enslaving the people, stealing the riches. Remember the whole Dutch East India Trading Company? That was like the first publicly traded company of all time ever. They made tons of money. Tons of money. So they was really raping India. They've been raping India for a long time. But you had slavery going on, for a long time. I remember looking at a lot of the old movies. When you see scenes from over there, you see kids in chains. It's crazy. You remember Indiana Jones, the same thing. I know it's just a movie, but they were hinting at, slavery that's taking place near the kids working in the mines and everything like that. It was crazy. So it's really a lot of stuff going on there that people have absolutely no clue about, and it's all being covered up. It's being covered up, and that's the reason why. It's because they don't want this information to get out. Because once you start to bust open India and what's going on there, it just trickles down. It leads to other things. It leads to looking into so many other instances in history that you see this pattern. And our situation comes into mind. What happened with slavery of the Africans, and as far as the transatlantic slave trade, it's the same situation. This is what they do. Now, when you look at some of the oldest pictures from the 1800s of India, you can still see it. You can see it clear as day. You see white people being served by dark-skinned Indians. You see, them as servants. You see pictures of the ancient lands, the ancient civilizations and how they looked back then. It still was amazing when you look at some of the structures and how these people were forced out, into cities, into cluttered populations so they could be more easily controlled. They was chased away from the ancient ruins because they didn't want people near there. That time was based on a time of dark-skinned people, and you are going to be reminded of that when you go there. You see all the tombs and monuments and statues of dark faces. They wanted people to be drawn out and to be under the whole umbrella of this whole caste system and the whole, they basically raped all the stories, retold them to make it fit, their agenda. But they still, just like with the Bible, kept the hidden esoteric meaning of the religion. So again, when you look deeper into Hinduism, Buddhism, or what have you, you're going to see the same stuff that the Egyptians was talking about, or the same kind of sort of parables of consciousness, or the Bible, or what have you. It's the same pattern. It's the same stuff. So this is what they did. And they went in there, they took over, they got control of the resources, got control of the government system, they got control of the people. And that's basically all you needed to do. So, you got to think about what you got to do to get people to stay underneath that mindset of a caste system. So, when you look at the actors and actresses in Bollywood over there, they light skin. It's basically perpetuated. To be light, it's better. Same thing with the models, light skin. You just take a look at them, how they look. Whenever you see them, a spokeswoman, a spokesperson is lighter skin. It's crazy. Some of these people can actually pass for white people. And that's the thing, why they wanted to basically go in and try to dilute the color to make it lighter, because here you have dark-skinned people with straight hair. If you lighten them up, they'll look more white. So when you start to push white is powerful, better, then these people who look more like them cling on to that title. And the people who are darker would be like, what's going on? It created conflict, and that's what the whole thing really was about. Did the same thing with us. It's the same thing. During slavery, light-skinned people got treated better because 9 times out of 10 they was mixed. They was mixed, and we hated each other because of that. It's the same thing. These people are over there hating each other, killing each other. Not really taking care of each other because of a system that they think is right. And they don't even understand their true history. They don't understand how their own religion has been distorted to fit something that is not them. So when we go back and you start looking at this, these ancient people and what happened to them, what happened to the Asians and what have you, you can see that this system trickled all the way over. And at some point, there was a deal that had to be made for them to basically shun the ancient times and to stay away from this stuff. Now, if you have control of the people who are in power, you can implement a system to where in the schools, they're not talking about the black ancestors, the black culture, the real culture. And this is basically what took place, and this is basically how you seen the vision. You seen the old African black gods go away and a rise of these white-faced gods. So now every independent scholar, researcher, archaeologist that wasn't really tied into the powers that be. So you had a lot of people that was really freelance. They was really free to go ahead and do research, to be archaeologists, to be explorers and discover, new things. These people was out there and they seen the world and they wrote about it. And when you compare all the researchers, all the studies and everything these people talked about, even the people that was under the powers that be, they call all the indigenous people of all the lands the same thing. They call them the Negritos. Plain and simple. This is what they was known by. So if you didn't get a word like burnt face, you'll find Negritos or Negroes. It's replete throughout all these people's writings. You go to the Philippines, you have the Negritos in the Philippines. You have Negroes in the Philippines. They understood, and this basically simply means that the indigenous people, the natives, are black, are dark skinned. Called the same thing all across the world. These people are Negritos, they are Negroes, or Negroid, what we got later on. The same people, and it's all across the world. You find it, the indigenous people everywhere with dark skin, and this is something that is known. So again, when you understand the history of one, just looking back at the Andaman, looking back at the relationship between Ethiopia and India, and everybody basically coming together about, so many different things, cultures being shared or what have you. It shouldn't be no question of, who created Buddhism and what color Buddha was. What color could this person possibly be so long ago in this part of the world when we see everybody's black, everybody's dark skinned. The only difference is your hair. All the philosophers, everybody, all the researchers around that time describing people as dark skinned. So how are we debating the color of the Egyptians or Buddha? So I was shocked when I was in Thailand and seeing a white-faced Buddhist. And then you go to the museum, you have either the gold Buddhas or you have the dark Buddhas. It would either be like a gray or just black. Most of them is black. You go into the ancient lands, it's black Buddhists everywhere. So it's like no debate. So to some people, it's like, okay, what's the difference? So what? Skin color don't mean anything, and people say that, but it means a huge thing, because when you change the skin, you change the history. You cover up something that happened, and you cover up the story that need to be told. Now, these people in India understand what has taken place, but they can't do nothing about it. They're watching their leadership party bullshit. I think the new king, I forget his name. I know he was a student. I think he went to Boston University or BYU or something like that, and then he became king. This dude understands what's going on. He's in power, but now he's a puppet. He can't really do anything. They rubbing elbows with the royal family, which should be a red flag anyway for the people in India. You should understand something is up anytime, royalty is rubbing elbows with the powers that be. A lot of African kings and people that's still kings and tribes in Africa won't even let them into the village. They can't come in. They are left alone because a lot of people looked at a lot of these African kings and queens as, being sacred, people. So you still have some African kings in Africa that's untouched. They don't want cameras in there. They don't want outsiders in there at all. So now this is one of the most sacred things you will see in Hinduism. It's the Shiva Linga, or the Shiva Lingam, or the Yoni and the Linga, or the Linga and the Yoni, however you want to put it. You see this everywhere. It is all over Asia. It's all over the Indus Valley, and you usually see it in water for a couple reasons. So you have the linga, which will represent the phallus, the male member, penis, and you have the yoni, which is the vagina of the woman, and you see them together, and you understand it represents creation, birth, rebirth, power, immortality, so many different things. And what they would do is different rituals they would have with the Shiva Linga is they would pour milk on it, and we understand what that symbolizes. And they would pour water on it. And what they would do is they would pour water on it, then collect the water from the little spout you see there, and they would perform purification rituals. And they would let the water basically seep into the ground. And they believe that the water goes to the black sun that is at the center of the earth. And the black sun purifies all the bad karma, all the evil karma, purifies it and sends the energy back up through the earth and to the person that is meditating. You get that pure energy. You get that pure energy from that and the sun. So when you understand, one, we're talking about sex, as I talked about before, meditation. Part 3 of mystery schools. It's all the same stuff they're talking about here. When you are having sex, you are basically in between, the unseen spiritual world, which is going to create life, creation, and this material world. So during sex, you are basically tapping into the spiritual. Because remember, as I said, sex creates life. So during that moment when you are creating life, you are tapping into something that is really powerful. And then you create a life. So this is what the yoni and the linga is representing. And when they used to worship it, pay homage to Shiva, or to worship it as Shiva, they would basically surround it with like flowers and like fruit and stuff like that. And sometimes they would take something and burn it to represent the burning of the evil energy. And they would basically burn it away. But you always usually see the Shiva linga surrounded by water. We see the phallics. We see the vagina represented by the yoni, and we've seen this before. We've seen it plenty of times. So again, we have Osiris. We have Osiris representing the obelisk. So the obelisk is Osiris's member, his penis. We see him everywhere. The obelisk, when you see it, is always near water. Just like the Shiva linga, just like the linga and the yoni, it's near water. So you have the phallics, you have water. Just like Washington, we have it there next to water. Everywhere they have it at is usually next to water. And a lot of places, the one in France is near water, and the one in Kemet, of course, is near water. Now you got to understand, Osiris, one of his attributes was he was a god of water. A lot of people don't understand that. Khnum as well, creator gods, gods of water. When you look at Aquarius, that is Osiris. That is Osiris. So it's the same thing. It's the same kind of story. It's the same kind of meaning that we find in ancient Kemet. You can find it in Hinduism. Now, when you look at this, the Shiva linga, the linga and the yoni, you see it with the serpents. It is the same as this. You have the was, you have the jed, you have the ankh, and we see the serpent. It's the same exact thing, representing the power of immortality, rebirth. This is how you come back, as I talked about. You come back, you have the serpentine energy. And this is what they're talking about when they're talking about the energy coming from the black sun up the spine. That's Kundalini. This is what it's talking about, Kundalini rising. And it's the same thing when you see the symbol with the serpents, with the cobras. We understand. I talked about this in Part 3 Mystery School. When you see the serpent, it's talking about that energy, that reptilian brain that also corresponds with the third eye, that corresponds with Kundalini rising. So when you see this symbol with the yoni and the linga, it's talking about sex and rebirth because of sex. The power coursing it down the spine, creating life. Plain and simple. The serpent representing that energy, that serpentine energy, the jed representing the spine, and the wa staff representing the control, the power of all that. And all of it coming together. And the ankh is rebirth, immortality, and this is how you come back. We see it right there in Hinduism with the symbol. And there's a lot more to this. There's a lot more to this stuff that we're going to get into in Part 2 to really break this thing down and understand. But I had to set it up to get you guys to understand the real history, because it's a lot to Buddha. It's a lot to the religion. There's a lot to the whole esoteric meaning of the religion. So you got to understand, a lot of people look at this stuff and all they see is penis, vagina. They don't get it. And when you go to Greece, they have the whole festival of the penis. It's a whole festival that they have. And they be riding on big giant penises and, just having a big giant parade, a penis parade. The phallics has always been worshipped. The same in Japan. They have the same type of festival. It has always been worshipped because it is understood, what it can do. So is, sex in the vagina. Aleister Crowley always talked about sex magic. He got that from Kemet. And this is stuff that they hide, that they keep from the public because they don't want people understanding what this stuff is really about. So when we talk about Buddhism, when we get into Hinduism, when we talk about Buddha and suffering and everything like that, as I said before, it's because of the reptilian lower brain. Suffering takes place because when you suffer, it's because you have a desire for something that is material that you cannot have. Any kind of physical pain can be understood. It's something that can be rectified. You understand that My hand hurts because I hit it. It's understood. But when you can't have material possession and you trying to strive to go after it, the whole time you trying to, go and strive for this material possession, you're suffering. You're wanting. And, that was a bad thing. You've been found wanting. Wanting was a bad thing, back in ancient time. That's how they basically said something. Said things, you're wanting. You're wanting, basically mean that, I'm poor, I have problems, I have issues, you're wanting. And this is what Buddha, always talked about. Wanting creates pain, sorrow, suffering. You need to let go. And when you can let go, you become more free. It's freedom and being able to say, I don't need it. I don't care. But everything that Buddha is talking about, deeper meaning, when we start getting into it in part 2, we can see where it traces back. There's so much more to this, but I can't fit everything in this DVD, and I don't want to start, because it's going to fit in part 2, but it's so deep. The history is the deepest part, and we're going to get into that a little bit more too, and understanding how all this stuff leads up to what we are seeing now. So Hitler and this whole Aryan race thing and this whole racist stuff that we've been seeing and understanding what's going on, what's taking place, there's a lot more to it. And it makes you really understand more when you understand the history and things that these people have been doing. They control the royal families. These people are all in on it together. Just like Dr. Clark said, they turned their backs on Kemet. They turned their backs on their own people, and they didn't help us out, and we fell because of it. It's the same thing happened back then. But now people are so confused and so brainwashed by the systems that they don't understand that they're destroying their own selves. They're destroying their own people by falling for it. I mean, how could you buy into such a system, the caste system? I mean, to me, it's like, what's wrong with these people? And people are proud to be a part of a certain group, even though they basically being used to harm their own people. And that's the thing, we have in our society, you have the upper middle class that, talk down, the poor people this, poor people that. You have the middle class trying to become upper middle class, but they're talking about them until they get there. Same thing with poor people. You talk about the rich people till you get there, then you become them. Because materialism corrupts. Money corrupts, plain and simple. You have to really be a strong, understanding person and have a power over the material, which is what the Jed represents when you see Osiris, the hands grasping the serpentine energy. I have control over the material. I have control over matter. It does not control me. I control it. But you need Satan. You need God. Together. One. That's what it's all about. And a lot of people need to understand that. You can't run from the satanic part of it. You can't run from the lower brain. It's controlling you. You need to understand it. You need to grasp it and control it. And there's a lot of ways of doing that. And, meditation helps out with that. But a lot of people just don't understand the concept of everything. All this stuff is so deep and there's so much and there's so much information. People just don't have the time because they are consumed by lower brain. And that is the system. And it's the whole point of the system. To keep you consumed by the lower brain so you don't understand Siddhartha. You don't understand Imhotep. You don't understand Osiris. You don't understand what they are trying to teach you. The information that they put out there. You had Imhotep basically code so much information into medicine, and they got it. And the medical caduceus basically tells you what Imhotep was talking about. When they drew it based upon what he was saying, he's giving you Osiris. He's giving you the key to repairing your whole body through the spine, the Jed. Plain and simple, the serpentine energy. Why do you need a doctor? When you have this symbol that I'm going to give you that's going to basically help you heal your entire body, if we can get to this point. That was the goal of the Egyptians, to get to that point. We need to get here. We know this is possible. We need to get this power. We need to get it back. And it was close. They was close. And they got conquered. And it's left to us, as I always say, to pick up where they left off, which is why I teach. That's why I do what I do. We so lost. Will it happen? Who knows? But it only takes one person to do it. It takes one person to do it and, start the chain reaction, the real true revolution. Not people just putting up a black fist and saying revolution because it's cool, but people who understand this, what you guys setting out to learn, what you guys have spent time and money on learning, this kind of information. People just, they don't care. So, you know, we got a lot to learn. We got a lot to go through, you know, that will continue with this series. But this is just part one. It's going to get a lot deeper than this. So now I want to take the time to thank you guys for watching. And, you know, I really appreciate the support that I've been getting. You know, as I said, I dropped the price on the downloads. That will go back up on June the 2nd to only $15. I won't go above $15 for the downloads. So I'm trying to get people to be able to purchase it without, you know, hurting their pockets. At 15 is more than fair. I'm also going to drop the DVDs down to $25. Again, same thing. Keep them at $25, more than fair price. It's going to be $25 plus shipping, which is probably like $7.25 or $7.50, I think it is. So it'll be like 30-something bucks. Still, you come out cheaper. I might even drop them down to $20. You know, to make it a lot easier for people. Matter of fact, I'll drop them down to $20. You know, it's really about getting this information out. I'm really tired of people just, you know, hitting me up with questions, and I'm like, damn, that was like how many 5-6 DVDs ago? Get the DVD. Yeah, I know some people ain't got the money, some people just cheap or what have you. It is what it is. But I'm gonna try to make it easier. But you know, you guys, I really appreciate the support and everything that you do. You know, some people buy every single DVD. Some people buy every single download to support. You know, people really trying to help out. People really get what I'm trying to do and understand the message. And you got some people who still skeptical about Merkabah. You know, what it all means and what is this stuff all about. And mostly older people. And people still consumed by the church, Christianity, or what have you. A lot of people are concerned about their soul. You know, I don't want to go to hell. What are you teaching? So many people talking about you. I seen you on Facebook. You know, what is it all about? And you know, to new people, you know, I always tell them, listen, don't listen to me. Do your own research. That's the best way I can say it. You know, I can sit up here and talk and give you a bunch of information, but you know, you really need to do the research and everything like that to really get that. Hey, this dude's telling the truth, and the stuff he's pointing out and putting out is real, it's right, it's good information. Because when you do your own research, you can, you know, just basically check my credentials, but you know, fact check what I'm saying. Do your own research. Like I said, I try to spare you of that time and that headache, because there's going to be some kind of avenues that you're going to need to go down that you're not going to really get, that you need to go look here. And like I said, I've been through this before. So my point in putting this stuff out is to get you guys over that hurdle, because we are consumed by the lower brain. Some of us have no choice but to be consumed by lower brain, meaning you have to go to work. You got no choice. You got to do what you got to do. You got to feed your kids. You got to pay your bills. You have to take care of yourself. You have to survive. And now, by you guys having this knowledge, you are slowly grasping control of that lower brain, understanding its purpose. Yeah, I got to do this, but it's not controlling me. I have a limit. These people in the music industry that have sold their soul, they don't have a limit. They're done. Because, you know, you got to understand, and I talked about before how everybody is being ruled by the lower brain, but in the music industry, they are basically perpetuating that whole lower brain system. And you got to realize, one, Satan's job in heaven was a musician. He played the music and ushered in, you know, the congregation to sit and wait for God's command or what have you. And he played music. And God would basically talk to the music, and they would obey God's words. All of this is metaphorical of what's happening with the music industry. Music is being played. These rappers are rapping, and we are acting out what they're saying and not realizing it. So all this stuff is tied in together. It's so deep. There's so much to it, but we're going to get into it a lot more in part 2. So again, thank you guys for taking the time to watch. Thank you guys for purchasing. See you guys next video.